from the moment the virus began to seriously arrive in the United States, and they could see how serious it was and how damaging it was and how many deaths there were going to be, they started to blame China in a big way.
Could have been stopped in its tracks. Unfortunately, they didn't decide to make it public, but the whole world is suffering because of it.
The first government to be aware of the Wuhan virus was the Chinese government. That imposes a special responsibility, and it took an awful long time for the world to become aware of this risk that was sitting there, residing inside of China.
I think that was a form of deflection. That was a way of pushing responsibility away from America towards China. So we can blame China and then it doesn't make us look so bad. But actually, the worse it got in America, the worse America looks. The China factor would always have been a problem, because what blinded America to COVID-19 was the attitude towards China. And that's what gave them this idea that somehow it was specific to China and it couldn't be universal. And he called it a hoax, he didn't take it seriously. So the country was completely unprepared, politically, intellectually, medically, scientifically, for the arrival of the virus. I mean, you've always got to remember this. China basically managed to restrict the virus, the effects of the virus, to Hubei. Large parts of China were relatively unaffected. In America, very rapidly, it spread across all the states of America. Trump is hostile to all multilateral institutions. He's hostile towards the United Nations. He withdrew from UNESCO. Trump doesn't like institutions like that, does he? He doesn't like NATO, for example. His hostility towards the WHO, I think, has got to be seen in that broader context. Secondly, the WHO has been saying things he doesn't like. I mean, it's been saying that China basically done a good job in relationship to COVID-19. And of course, that is bound to go down badly with Trump, because he sees himself as having a fight with China. And an important organization like WHO, which has a lot of legitimacy in the world, a lot of influence, a lot of respectability, and it's saying generous, in my view, correct things about China's performance in relationship to COVID-19. Relations will continue to be uneasy between China and the United States, and to some extent conflictual. I mean, conflictual in a sense of arguments and criticisms and attacks and so on. I think that the United States will continue with that. I mean, look, we're talking about a period since 2016. The whole political centre of gravity of America has shifted to a more hostile attitude towards China. Why is it shifting? Well, I think essentially for two reasons. They thought China would never economically rise in the way that it would do and become a threat to America's economic position, and it did. And the other reason was because they always thought the political system in China was have to become like a Western democracy. Wrong. So the two fundamental assumptions of the American attitude were both wrong. That's what undermined the American attitude towards China and led to this much more hostile attitude. Ever since it happened, I have been of the view that previous era is over. The engagement and accommodation between China and the United States, that relatively, friendly relationship has come to an end. And this new phase ushered in 2016 is not going to go away anytime soon.